true definition of a visionary leader, a leader who can see what is coming tomorrow, that definition rests with one man, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And good Kenyans, I want you to come and watch this podcast, because there is a question we need to answer from wherever you are. If Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta did not create, renovate, and establish the Uhuru Gardens as the center where we will remember our heroes, selfless men and women that fought for independence of this country, where would King Charles III had visited? Where will he have visited? If Uhuru did not make Uhuru Gardens, I was watching the events of the day and I was smiling, and that crossed my mind. Really, the real planner of King Charles' visit in Kenya, contrary to what many think, King Charles is here because of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And his Day One diary tells more about this. When Uhuru spent billions to make and establish this center, I remember the new crop of leaders that are now in power were all over the country yapping and calling Uhuru Kenyatta all sorts of names because he was militarizing the country. But the son of Mama Ngina saw this as a very important institution in this country. In fact, that land was even grabbed. And I remember Uhuru saying that the person who told him to work on that Uhuru Gardens project was one Raila Odinga.
Kiongea na yeye kutoka miezi karibu 14 wakati nilianza hii project ya Uhuru Gardens, ambaye tumetembea na yeye hapa sana na amenipatia mawaidha Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, nasema asante sana.
So I want us to look at the King Charles diary in Kenya today, Day One, and I'll show you the context of that and why I feel that Uhuru got it right and Ruto missed the point. But before that, we are purchasing 5 wheelchairs for 5 children with autism and cerebral palsy. That is the photo you are seeing on your screen. You know, reaching out to you that this month we are doing a 100 challenge to purchase the 5 wheelchairs. These children are in need, and we decided that, of course, throughout the year we had not done anything for the child. And as we finish, I wanted us to wrap it up with one for the African child. So that is going to help them both from home and also when they're in school. Their mothers, I was talking with them, they're forced to carry them in their bags, of course. And it's been a very challenging ordeal for them. For those who have children with disability, you will understand that this is not a very easy space. So we narrowed down on these 5 children, and kindly let's support and see how this will play. Straight to Uhuru, to King Charles' diary. And I insist, the person that organized this trip is one man. The man who is the hero, is my hero of that trip, is Uhuru Kenyatta. When King Charles came to Kenya, after he was received in Statehouse, Their Majesties, they joined William Ruto and First Lady at the site where Kenya's first flag was first raised to mark independence almost 60 years ago. This is at Uhuru Gardens. At the entrance of the museum, Their Majesties viewed the statues of Kenyan freedom fighters Dedan Kimathi and Mekatilili Wamenza before being led down to the tunnel of martyrs. Here, the former director of Uhuru Gardens, Brigadier Opio, gave a moving account of the lives of those commemorated in the tunnel, including some of those who suffered ill treatment and torture under the colonial administration. During the tour, the king and Ruto also laid wreath at the tomb of a known warrior dedicated to honoring all of those who have contributed to Kenya's unity, peace, and liberty in the presence of the members of Kenya Defense Forces and their families. The two then proceeded to the soon-to-be-opened National Museum, intended to tell Kenyans' proud history through the Kenyan voices. Ruto then led the Majesties to visit the Mugumo tree on the site of where the Kenyan flag was raised in the presence of King's father, the late Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. The flag was hoisted to mark independence in 1963. And apart from that, the King Charles also had opportunity to view the repositioned home of Kenya's first president, Jomo Kenyatta. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask again, if Uhuru Kenyatta did not foresee a situation where King Charles or our colonial masters who wanted to remember this, where would the king have visited? I'm asking for the second times. I'm asking it again. And that is why a true leader, a visionary leader, is the leader who sees tomorrow. Now let me tell you something. There is a context into King Charles' visit. It's true that since he was made the king, he was elevated to be the king, Kenya is the first Commonwealth country he's visiting, and I believe the first one in Africa. But as of late, if you look at day one, he actually commemorated the independence. He commemorated the survivors, or rather our soldiers, who fought for the independence. And indirectly, he was trying to offer an apology. And I know that apology is not enough. There is a context. Mamou descendants are leaving the space. The gallant descendants of Kenyan men and women who fought for this country are leaving the space. Just I think that the day before yesterday, the mother of my friend Koigi Wamwere, I've interviewed Koigi Wamwere, and I remember when I went there, I even saw the mother, even though she was a bit weak. I even saw the mother also passed on. And secondly, there is another context. There is a new wind of coup d'etat that is blowing Africa. And West Africa is showing hostility against their colonial masters. And I'm very sure that from the recent general election, where the opposition wing insisted that UK and US were fully behind our election malpractice that rigged out Raila Odinga, there is some hostility that has been growing against the British. And this trip is purely to cement the ties, bilateral ties between the two countries, but with the sole intention of sending an apology. Because a new wind of hostility against colonizers is sweeping Africa. But this, the day one diary of the king, has exposed Ruto's underbelly. Why? Kindly watch that part. But before that, if you're coming to the country during this festive season and you're looking for a place to relax, a serene environment around the coast, then don't look elsewhere, because Bold Podcast, in partnership with the Zuri Coastal Apartment, is bringing you the best that you need. Uzuri Coastal Apartment is an Airbnb sitting at the center of the Sultan Palace, the northern part of the coast. It's a serene environment with a close-up view of the beach. The area is well fitted with amenities like water bath, swimming pool, a pool place where you can play pool. There is also nyama choma for guys who like nyama choma, and it's just an amazing place. Even the house is well furnished. It's a 2-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom house, B&B, that is best fitted for both you and your family. So if you're coming in the country, contact the number there so that you can book your space at starting from 12,000. So contact so that you can book your stay in the coastal space. 3 reasons why we missed it. William Ruto missed it. King Charles came to this country, and day one diary is remembering our forefathers. But remember, the Kenyan government, especially the crop of leadership we have now, has been suppressing our history by all means. And let me report that national holidays and celebrations that were put in our calendar to remember our heroes have been mutilated and converted into political rhetoric events. 2 events I want to mention. Last year, we had Jamhuri Day, where we mark our independence. That Jamhuri Day was renamed Digital Something Jamhuri Day, and it had nothing to do with remembering these heroes. Just recently, on 20th October, we had Mashujaa Day, and instead of remembering these Mashujaas, we were talking about universal health care Mashujaa, and in fact, the whole event was turned into marketing universal healthcare. And truth be told, William Ruto, since getting to presidency, never stepped in Uhuru Gardens. And in fact, he went there the other day at night just to inspect, after realizing that in King Charles' diary, he was going to visit that place. So he was also didn't want to be a visitor. He went there, and the photo was never shared of William Ruto visiting Uhuru Gardens. So as a country, we have been suppressing our history. And there is that one man that will have a blessing to be amongst us. Raila Odinga is well versed, is a custodian of our history, but has never been given the space. Number 2, the lobby groups that were pushing for compensation of those that were afflicted by atrocities by our colonial masters were silenced. And yesterday, there was a press briefing that was supposed to be held by some human rights activists who are lobbying for the visibility of those whose the families that were affected by the British atrocities. But that press briefing was actually hijacked by the police, and those activists were chased away. So we chased activists who are blowing the story, and even in the media, no one is talking about our independence. This was the time to tell our story, but because we were too insecure and too cautious, we silenced. While King Charles' visit was purely to be used by the likes of Rigathi Gachagua to talk about the things they normally say that Uhuru Kenyatta should have considered. Number 3, we have failed to honor our heroes, and in fact, subsequent governments only spend billions on their burials, while Mau Mau descendants are suffering. King Charles' visit, day one diary in the country, is a reminder to this country that we need to remember our heroes. But today, the mastermind, the planner behind this visit is none other than Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. Continue supporting us, and kindly let's purchase the wheelchair. The wheelchair challenge is going on. We believe that things are tough, that by the end of the week we'll be able to purchase the 5 wheelchairs. So kindly thank you, and let's continue participating. I want someone to explain to me the link between the Mugumo tree and the visit of the king. Someone may need to explain to me in details. I hope that I can package an analysis around that. So if you are so much versed, get to my WhatsApp. My WhatsApp number is there, so that you can tell me, what do you know about it? Thank you.